So, all right, Ed, what's the answer? Tell us already. We give, Uncle. It's been a while leading up to this, right? And of all things, here you are, Ed, standing at a canal lock. A canal lock! We're trying to move away from 1890, right? Well, yes, we are. But there's method to the madness, and the canal lock is a great place to start talking about it. Even though what I'm really thinking about is rockets. A SpaceX rocket in particular, and others that follow it, the ones that can deliver a payload into orbit, come back down to Earth, land 1,000 feet or so from where its launch pad is, on a dime. Precision like unbelievable. So how do we get to there? So I doubt all of you listened to all of the previous videos, parts of this, but I hope you did listen to some. If you haven't, go back and check in, because we've tried in various ways to lead up to this point and talk to the picture of how hard high school transformation really is, and how diverse a country it is and diverse the needs of students are, and then try to paint a picture of how previous efforts have, what previous efforts can tell us. And we've tried to hint at how all true, really scalable innovation relies on some new standards that have come along. Something that people can rely on that they didn't used to be able to rely on, and that just makes everything easier, everything connect better, everything flow. So in this case, the width of that canal lock told people it was a standard canal lock from Lake Erie, in this case, down to the Ohio River, or from Lake Erie up by Buffalo over to the St. Lawrence or the Hudson River. You could rely on that. That was, you built a boat, you could get through that. The standard gauge rails. And then as we went into electronics, the frequency of the phone call, and then all those mathematical compression algorithms, and what you could rely on as far as transmission characteristics, and on. Okay, we just built on top of those, one after another. So the point has been made by others a lot that the Carnegie unit is 100 years old, and they propose that it's lost its value. It has, sort of, but what we really need to do is make it better, refine it, make it more fine-grained, if you will. And there are different ways to do that. This is the idea that we pushed for 10 years and more now to many of these organizations, and for the most part, none of them have bitten into it. But along the way, something funny happened, and we did get a little bit of that. And so I want to talk about that right now. So I thought I'd come here to start the story of Ohio and other states' industry credentials. There's really nothing special about this place at all, except that it's the descendant of the company that my grandfather worked for much of his career, then called Ohio Brass. And what they do is make insulators and other equipment, I believe, for the electrical power industry. So pretty old, pretty basic, pretty long-lined product line. But like most places, I'm sure it gets very, 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 very specialized. And I'm sure they have some really unique applications and and customer stories to tell, and production stories to match those. So have you heard of industry credentials for high school? Don't worry, you're not alone. I'm sure probably most people haven't. It's fairly new. The last several years they've been rolling them out. The basic idea is that you get a credential for something that's not normal academic work, but is recognized in the industry. So operators, a boiler operator certificate, for example, it's a fairly lengthy process. I believe it takes a whole year of 1 year's class credit to get it. But there's a list of them, and there, as I said, they're spreading through the other states. Ohio has quite a few. And yet, if you think about the larger array of possible jobs and possible work opportunities, it's kind of limited. But again, it's young. So I just invite you to go to Ohio's industry credentials page at the Education Department's website, or your state if you have it. But Ohio's is the one I'm thinking about, and just browse through that and look through the diversity of ones that are on there. You'll see communications, graphics arts, so there's a lot of Adobe certificates because those are classes that are easy out there and easy to check out. But there are really basic ones like just workplace safety, and that's a very simple, fairly quick credit you can pick up to help you on your way to graduation for those kids that are just really struggling to get through just enough credits to get out the door. What I want to do here, though, is look beyond that. Look at these as a transformative currency, if you will. That standardized thing that we talked about while we were standing by the canal, when we were talking about rockets and building aircraft and building electronic systems and communication systems. And what's that next thing for the school that will enable us to do that? If you look at these certificates in the simplest form, they're just really a response to, say, early college credit, where you go to college and you take a class there that's really pretty much just like the class you had in high school, sitting in an probably sitting in a classroom. My niece took a lot of psychology classes there, so she went to someone who's probably a less experienced teacher teaching. Maybe not, I've never met the instructors, but oftentimes at a community college, that's what you'll get. You'll get an adjunct professor who does this part-time or something like that, and you're filling in time. And so basically what they're doing is leading you through some book like this, cognitive psychology, or a history book, or perhaps a more technical thing. And these industry certificates were kind of an answer to that. Like, okay, well, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to get a degree. So, maybe one first class would be good for me. But what I really want to do is work towards a career. And that's what those were about. And I don't want to say any more about that aspect of that, because that is a thing in itself, and you can explore that, and that's a great way of evolving high school. And there's more and more coming out on that. The Thomas Fordham Institute just wrote up a couple pieces. Dig in and explore those industry credentials, and I probably should just make a whole video about that. But what I really want to do, though, is go back to that fundamentally transforming high school. How do we do that? And how do we get that standard token, the narrow gauge rail, the bits of information? How do we do that for high school that takes that Carnegie unit and shrinks it and makes it more fine-grained? And that's where if we look at these things, we start to see an opportunity opening up.